Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a plan today, and the plan is to help you get your spark from your distributor cap, the coil to the distributor cap and out to the plugs, or from your individual coils out to the plugs. So there's lots of different ignition systems, but a lot of them use wires. So let's figure out how to wire you up. So first of all, being a shop that has a dyno, you end up burning up a lot of plug wires, stuff like that, because people bring their cars in and they're ready to go to the dyno, but the dyno, we create a ton of heat. So I keep an inventory.
So here is kind of a close-up of the supply that I need to keep around. So there's a lot of different ends in this. There's tons of different style crimps. Different manufacturers use different ones. I have lots of inventory, as you can see, of the different styles. And then this here is also full of different styles of boots and different ends. And in what you're doing, you're just going to need to select the style you need and order that. You won't need this kind of inventory.
The one thing that when you're doing hot rodding that you're going to run into quite a bit that you need to deal with is that extreme heat. So on a normal, so this is a coil near plug, so this is an LSD. An LSD, that's not very good. We won't talk about that again. I have no idea. We're going to talk about your LS type stuff. So this is an LS coil, so a smart coil, and this goes down to the spark plug. So this one right here, if you have a header on, the factory ones have a steel piece over this to protect it, but this one is you can actually shape these and bend them. The ends are like this, and they're flexible. You shape them to what you need inside here. So the issue with this is these get burned off all the time. So this right here is a ceramic end. So you can buy different brands of ceramic ends. This one happens to be Excel. We have a Performance World one here, but you can hear these are hard. And this really, really protects your plug wires from being burned off. They're a very good option, especially on headers where they're so close. So when you buy a universal set, they come in a variety of lengths and you have to get ends on them.
So when we are moving forward with this, we end up with a spark plug wire that looks like this. We're going to fit it to the car and we're going to cut it to length. I am just going to do a quick sample of how we're going to do that. I'm not going to do it on this wire. I'm just going to use a scrap piece. So when you're doing this, what you want to do, there's a couple different kind of ends, and I'm going to strip this differently so that you can see what I'm talking about, and it'll make sense in a minute. So just be patient with me. So the one style of plug wire end we want to use a sharp razor blade, and you don't want to get too crazy with this. If you do, I'll just do it. If you do, you're going to cut the wire right off. And all we want is, if you look real close in here, all we want is this core exposed, and we're going to cut off these two outer layers. So I am going to, for one style, all I want to do is take a very sharp razor blade, roll it in, and then I personally just break this back, and if you look close, you can see the wire gets exposed. And if it isn't exposed all the way around, no big deal. Just go in, roll it into that same crack, work it off, and I have a plug wire that I should have went a little bit more aggressive with, but it doesn't matter. Take and nip that off. So the one style of wire, I only want a little bit sticking out. The other style, I need the wire to stick out and wrap around the back side. So I have to be a little bit longer. So I want to be very careful. Sometimes this will unwind on you. So now I have a long piece and a short piece. And what I'm talking about, we have to crimp ends on, but there's two style of ends. So if you take a look here, this style of an end takes a longer wire. I'll show you why. And this style of end takes a shorter one. So let's take a quick look at the crimpers. So some crimpers or some plug wires come with crimper sets. You can buy these separate, whatever. This is a real cheap kind of setup, and I've never personally used this. I'm assuming you try and balance this in the vise and it would work just fine. This is an MSD setup. This does go in the vise, so you can clamp it in the vise and then you put your wire in there and you squeeze the vise tight and you end up having that crimped in. Okay. This is the crimpers that I prefer to use. It's a ratcheting style crimper. And you start ratcheting it up, and it isn't going to release until you get it all the way. But if you start crimping a wire, you can pause it. This little lever here, you just release it. It's a ratchet crimper. This is a very good crimper. It works very well. All right, so this is what we're going to be using right now. So with the style, I would never leave this like this, but for ease and simplicity here, this style, if you look, there's a little rib in there that the wire crimps into. I'm not going to crimp this one on. I'll crimp the other one on. The crimper works exactly the same, other than this one here. I usually take a plier and crimp these two pieces together onto that existing wire that's sticking out there. I crimp it before I crimp these. Now, on this one here, this style end is usually a cheaper style. And what you do with this one is you want to fold this wire over and you put it into this just like so. So this is folded over the back side of this. And what I do is I crimp it by hand just to hold it for me until I can get it into the crimper. And if you look at the crimper here, all the jaws on the crimper have a side that has a little divot in the middle, and it has a round spot on the end. Well, that round spot is what I want on here, and the divot in the middle is going to be the end that I put on top. And I'll show you why. When you're crimping this, so if you look really close, you can see that that divot is in the middle. What it does is it curls that wire onto itself. So if I take and I crimp this, it's actually turned that wire onto itself, and that is a very good crimp end, and that's what you're looking for when you put the ends on the wires. The style that I'm using is this style here, and you'll see we'll just get that rubber boot on as our next step. So a little tidbit of information of why we care about how we crimp these on is, first of all, this outside, these two outside layers of this wire, that's the insulation. This inner core right here, this core of wire is what conducts the spark to the plug wires. If anything goes wrong with this or the boots, we end up losing spark and we have a misfire. So the reason that we fold the one wire over like this one, you can see it's sticking out right here, is because we need to get that core wire to touch this metal part to go into the spark plug, because it's conducting the electricity. So the spark that goes through this is a very high voltage, low amperage spark. So we want to make sure, you know, the spark jumps anywhere because of the high voltage. It allows the spark to jump, but we want the least resistance possible going so we have the best spark. And then on this one here, when we put this one in, this little clamp in here, when we pinch that tight with our needle nose pliers, what we're doing is we are making a good connection to the spark plug through that little crimp piece right there. So we want to make sure that we crimp that nice and tight and that it's a good connection. So the next step is
we have to get this boot on, okay? So what you want to do is you just get some nice light lube and you give it a little spritz. Nice little spritz in there. And I only spritz the end of this because you don't want to be fighting that wire too hard. And this lube works great, okay? And you push it on till it's seated all the way. I don't know, you're probably not going to be able to see that, but you can see it perfectly in there. And then if you want, you test it on your cap. That is on. This lube will evaporate and it won't be so slippery. These will be stuck on in a couple of heat cycles. We'll be good to go. So that is my little video of how to get yourself a set of new plug wires, universal stuff for your headers. That'll work on your headers or whatever you have. Universal wires are super nice because you can route things differently, a lot nicer. And I am really hoping that that gives you the knowledge, that power to be able to go and work on your own hot rod.
This video fits really nicely in with the engine R&R for the El Camino. So when I scoot away and we change plug wires, I'm making new wires, and this is the video that explains how to do that. There's also some other short videos that are going to go along with it, and there's some shorts. There's a short on getting an oil light bushing the oil in it. Most people don't even understand how that works. So anyway, please check out the engine R&R, and as well as some of the other tidbits information in the shorts and other videos that go along with this series. It's really going to help you when you are trying to do your engine R&R. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe.